My name is David Lance, and I'm the author of the book Think Like Jesus, Lead Like Moses, Leadership Lessons from the Wilderness Crucible. One of the things that I think is very important for a leader to do is to find someone whom he can mentor to kind of bring along and help to be someone who will fill his shoes after he is finished leading the people in whatever kind of capacity he might have. Joshua was the man that God called Moses to mentor and to lead and develop so that Joshua could then lead the children of Israel into the promised land after Moses passed away. You know, one of the things about Joshua was that he had a heart that was open to spiritual truths. He actually was the firstborn in his family, and so during the time of the Passover, that event must have had a special meaning for Joshua, as the Lord, the angel of the Lord passed over the household of Joshua and spared him. From an early age, he worked as a servant to Moses, and it even records in the Bible that after a long day of speaking to God, Moses would come back to his tent, and his servant Moses would not depart from the tent, as Moses shared all that God had shared with him to his young friend and servant Joshua. One of those things that we see then is the importance of doing that mentoring process. A movie that I absolutely love on this is one called The Kingdom of Heaven. There's a man by the name of Godfrey of Eberlin, and he finds a young man by the name of Balian who was a bastard son of his. And so he takes Balian under his wing and he teaches him how to become a knight. And in fact knights him and says as he finishes knighting him, he slaps him on the face and he says, that is to remember your vow of serving the poor and taking care of the needy. He says to his son then, rise a knight. Later on in the movie, Balian, who is played by Orlando Bloom, also does that same thing with other men as they prepare to defend the walls of Jerusalem against the invading Muslim army. So one of the things that I think it's important for all of us as leaders is to ask, how are we discipling others? You know, my father, Dr. Tom Lance, was an optometrist. I grew up in the town of Goshen. And one of the things that he did was he searched out for someone into whom he could pour his talents and knowledge about the subject of optometry, and found a young man by the name of Dr. David Kripe, who he mentored and now runs that practice years after my father has passed away. And so this was a man that my father spent a lot of time with to mentor and make sure that he knew all that he had to know in terms about how to not only be a good doctor, but to be a friend to the patients that he served. One of the things I think it's so important about mentoring others is to have a plan on how you're going to train them up. Let that person that you're mentoring and working with in on your plans. Give them increasing responsibilities and mark the transitions with special ceremonies. You know, in Numbers chapter 27, when Moses passes that mantle of authority to Joshua, they anoint Joshua in front of the elders and all the people of Israel to mark that as a special time of transition. And so by doing that, we can teach people in ways that they may not immediately recognize about the values in terms of going through that mentee process, but will pay off dividends in the end. And so principle number 8 that I have derived for being a godly leader is simply this. Invite the Holy Spirit to flow through you so that you might choose and disciple others with a heart for the vision that God has given you. Well, thanks so much for listening, and God bless.